Welcome to The Color of Music, the podcast. Today we're taking a dive into the stirring world of pipe bands right here in Nelson, New Zealand. Joining us today is Callum Gilchrist, a senior pipe manager of Nelson's very own Celtic pipe band. A cornerstone of our local music scene, the Celtic pipe band is a competitive powerhouse in grades 2, 4A, 4B, and juvenile categories. Callum and his family have been instrumental in the band's success, guiding us through competitions and helping preserve the traditions of Celtic music here in New Zealand. We'll be talking about what makes this band special, their journey, and the traditions that keep it alive. Plus, we'll have a short presentation of how the bagpipes work, so you can get a closer look at the artistry and skill that go into creating this unique sound. So, without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Callum Gilchrist from the Celtic Pipe Band.
Thank you, Todd. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Can you tell us a bit about the history of the Celtic Pipe Band and how did it come to be Nelson's competitive pipe band?
Well, we'll have to go back to about, I think, the late 90s. 99, I think, my original bagpipe teacher started what was called the Celtic Piping and Drumming Club. So it wasn't really a competitive pipe band, it was more of a place to learn for all ages, but wasn't really a competitive pipe band in the New Zealand scene. And then I started learning off this fellow called Peter Freether, who was running that group, and probably 4 or 5 years into my learning, Peter decided to move overseas, and he approached my dad, Bryce Gilchrist, who's run a number of bands around Nelson and New Zealand as pipe major, and approached him to see if himself and our family, who were all playing instruments in the pipe band world, to see if we would take over that group and lead it into the future. So that happened in 2007. And from there, we changed the name pretty much immediately into the Celtic Pipe Band. So it was more of a pipe band than a learning group or a club. And we basically had a handful of players, probably 10 to 12 players across all disciplines. And it was really a bunch of learners. And so I believe it was about a year later we did our first competition in 2008. And that was in grade 4. So back then they just had grade 4, no 4A or 4B. And launched ourselves onto the scene. We had all sorts of different uniforms going on, different instruments. Nothing really matched. It was just, let's just get these kids out there. When I say kids, I was 15 at the time, so I was also a kid, but very keen to be involved with the teaching part and learning how to lead and tune the instruments and stuff, and learn off my father, who was a master at all of those things. So in 2010, we went to our first national competition. So 3 years after taking over, we took a band of probably 12 pipers, 4 tenors and a bass, and 6 side drummers, so probably 20 to 25 players, quite a competitive group. And it was the first time really anyone had heard of us, and we had brand new uniforms, so we'd fundraise to do that, with red shirts to make ourselves stand out. So everyone was like, who the heck are these guys? Celtic Pipe Band, no one had ever heard of us. So went out there and got third in our grade 4, first year up. So that's sort of a bit of a start, and that leads us up to 2010. I can keep going through the history if you like.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
So 2010, we got third in the Nationals in Masterton, and that was fantastic. The following year, we were aiming to win, but unfortunately, the earthquake obviously happened in Christchurch, so the competition was cancelled, which was devastating, but probably more devastating for the people in Christchurch than it was for a little pipe band hobby. So we had to wait another year to see if we could to win our grade, and we did just that. So in Tūronga in 2012, we won grade 4, which was fantastic. And then we moved into grade 3. So at this stage we just had the one band. So we were in grade 3 at this point, 2013, and Timaru was our first grade 3 competition. I think we got 5th. At this stage we had quite a large group of learners learning all disciplines underneath the band that was competitive. So the band that was in grade 3 sort of had 25 members.
All younger people?
Yep, mostly young people.
Yeah.
And we've always been very big on that. But it is open to all ages, and we do have, currently we have people as young as 7, all the way up to probably 70, 75. There might be one that's a bit older than that. So there's a huge range, and it's a place where everyone's equal. It's probably the only place where you can go once a week and there's no hierarchy of just because you're older or younger.
Well, what are all the gradations?
Yep. So we have the learner group. So you learn your instrument, and then if you're doing solo music, that gets graded from novice, D grade, C grade, B grade, and then A grade's the highest grade. So that's in your solo music career, if you like. And then bands is very much the same. You have 4B, which is kind of like your novice grade, and then your 4A, which is like your D grade, grade 3, grade 2, and then grade 1. So if we fast forward from 2013, we were starting to compete in grade 3, and now it's 2015, we started our second band, competitive band within our organisation. So that was a 4B band. So they've put out their first competition in 2015, actually here at the Nelson Nationals, which we ran as well, national championships. So at this point, we're actually running competitions as well. So we put out our first 4B band, and they did really well. And they quickly progressed, and in 2017 they got second in their grade, and that was good enough for them to get upgraded to grade 4A, which is where they are at the moment. In 2015, the grade 3 band won grade 3. Okay, so they went up to grade 2. So that's where that band is now, and we're at the top of grade 2. So grade 2 band won the Nationals after 9 years of trying in that grade. Just this March just been. So huge achievement, which has taken basically from a learner group in 2007 of a bunch of learners, and there's still people in the band that were in that group, which is quite special.
And it's composed of male and female.
Male and female,
Yeah.
yep. And 2007 through to 2024, it took us to win that grade 2 title. Getting into grade 1's not just as simple as winning. You really have to be consistent across the season and probably multiple seasons, and be performing at that grade 1 level before you get there, because it's a very tough grade to be in, and there's only probably 20 in the world in that grade. And so this year, now that we've got a top of grade 2 band, and we've got a very competitive grade 4A band now, we've just started a grade 4B band, which is another entry point for those learners to come into a bit easier, because what happens is when the band moves up, it's very hard for a learner to get into it in terms of its level. So we've now got 3 stepping stones, which was always the strategic plan that my father Bryce put together way back in 2007. So we need 3 levels so that we can cater for all, and you get the numbers at the bottom and you get the cream at the top, those who want the pressure and of performance.
Your family's very involved in it. Can you talk a little bit about
Yep. So my dad started playing when he was about 10 years old, and his grandfather played, and that's where he got it from. And then my older brother Jaden is a side drummer, and he's the drum sergeant for our 4A band. And he's been teaching a long time in the band as well. So he started learning first, and then I started learning the bagpipes when I was about 10. And then my younger brother Tori, he's a qualified teacher now, and he's a very good teacher of the pipes. And he started learning as well, and so he's in the grade 2 band with me. Dad has been president, pipe major, everything you can think of in the band while it grows. So he's really been the figurehead, I suppose. My mum played the tenor drum for a while. My stepmum plays the bass drum and the tenor drum to quite good levels. And then my little sister is a world-class tenor drummer and bass drummer as well. Yeah. So we're all heavily involved. My stepbrother plays the pipes, and my stepsister's Highland dancer as well. So yeah, it's hard to get away
You have a
from
whole
it.
band already in your family.
You could almost compete
Yeah.
with our family. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be a competitive pipe band, and what kind of preparation goes into competing at the different levels you were talking about?
Yep. So at the 4B level, that's really about teaching people how to do the basics really well, and implementing strong practice regimes at home. So, during the competitive season, should really be practicing most days of the week, with the odd exception. Doesn't have to be for a long time, but to get at one with your instrument, to be good at starting your instrument, to be good at stopping your instrument, and to be good at maintaining the sound through the whole performance is the three key aspects. Moving forward into 4A, that group now is more competitive, and although it's not at a grade 2 level, the expectations are similar in terms of your practice regime. You should be practicing every day again, and practice is probably a bit more intense. There's more focus on, minimal errors, maintaining good tone. You should never really have any issues with starts and stops and breaks between tunes. And it's just a little bit more pressure because that band really wants to, 4B wants to win as well. Everyone wants to win. But 4A is obviously harder to win, and the people that are there are probably putting in, quite a bit of time to be involved. And then grade 2 is a step up again. The expectation there is that you're really looking after your own instruments for the most part. You have a high level of understanding of what you're doing, so it's not just up to the leaders to get you through everything. There's far less spoon feeding. It's just expectation that you'll turn up and deliver, and if you're not, then we do have the other levels to play with. So it's if you decide that there's too much pressure at that level, there's other levels to play at where it might be a bit easier, or you might want to take a more relaxed season, so you could go down to a grade 4A band and come back later on. And it's a place where we should be growing people and pushing their boundaries of what they think they can achieve, really.
Now, Callum, let's talk a bit about the bagpipes. First of all, what do you think makes a bagpipe such a unique instrument?
I think it's the tonal qualities of the instrument. I think it is something you either love or you hate. Some people say to me, I love the bagpipes, if they're over the hill and I can't hear them. It's the tonal quality of it, and I think if you love it, it just gets into your blood, and it really, when someone strikes up the pipes, it really gives you the jitters, especially if you're not around it very often, and it just gets the feelings and the emotions out. I know when we're playing at funerals and weddings and stuff, you only have to play one note and then the whole crowd is just in tears. It's quite special in that regard.
Some of the other things we'll start in, because we're going to have you play the instrument a little bit. So
yeah.
Probably best if maybe we can talk about it, how the bagpipes are constructed, and different parts and materials and things like that.
Yep.
Did you want to do that first, and then we get into a demo of the?
Yeah, I can. What I can do is I can pull them out, and
okay.
I'll put them together, and I'll do that down here, and I'll show you the different parts and what each bit does, because it is relatively complicated. So this here is.
Oh yeah.
This is the practice instrument, and that's quiet. So you can play it in your motel room. You play it at home. You're not going to upset your family too much. And that's where you work on your technique. It sounds like this. Yep. So it's kind of like a recorder, I suppose, but pretty. It's made of plastic and it's pretty durable. You can have it on the couch and just have a tune and stuff in between TV shows. Right. So this is the instrument, the real thing, the bagpipe. So piece by piece, this is the water trap. So this actually takes the moisture from a breath. And just condensates in there, so it doesn't get through the instrument too much. It just regulates it a wee bit. It's a very finicky instrument. You don't want too much moisture, but you don't want it to be too dry either. Too much moisture will mean that things go flat and just start to go out of tune. And if it's too dry, things can get really sharp and shrill. You can get squealing noises and all sorts going on. Okay, so I've just put the tube in there. This is the blowpipe. This is where the air comes in. Okay. Now down here we have the chanter stock. So we actually have multiple stocks. So this is where the chanter goes into, the pipe chanter, which we'll show you in a minute. And then you've got your drone stocks, 1, 2, 3. So I'll grab the chanter out. So this is the pipe chanter, and it's just got a cap on it to protect the reed. Okay, so much the same as the practice chanter. Yep, but it's a bit wider and it's certainly much louder. Okay, and you've got a cane reed which is bound on a copper staple, and the two blades, once they've got enough pressure, just hit against each other. So double-edged blade. So pop that in here. And then we've got the rest of the drone. So this is how we get it into a smaller case so that they actually come apart. I'll stand up. It's very hard to play these things sitting down. You need your diaphragm to work.
And it looks to me like you have to have a good diaphragm capacity.
Correct. Everyone always says, oh, you need big lungs to play bagpipes. No, nothing to do with it. It's a bit of a myth. You got really small people that can do it as well. It's like anything, it's technique. Technique is the most important thing. So diaphragm's really important. When you're bored, I believe you breathe in and your diaphragm goes out. And then when you breathe out, your diaphragm goes in. But at some point along the way, it gets reversed and people breathe the other way. And that doesn't give you much control over your breath. So when we teach the bagpipes, we teach when the air comes in, we want to reverse it back to when you were born, which is breathe in, diaphragm goes out, which I can demonstrate with my tummy. And then when you breathe out, diaphragm goes in. And that gives you that control and the strength using your core muscles to push the air out. But it's not necessarily about how hard you push it out, it's the control that you do it in, because it's a very finicky instrument. Any changes in pressure make a huge difference to pitch. So that's the hardest thing to master on this instrument is getting the tone even all the time. And then you've got, say, 20 pipers all trying to do the same thing at the same time. So that's the challenge of it. It can be very bad or it can be very good. I'll give you a bit of a demonstration.
And you're also
Yep.
not standing still, so you're marching in addition to playing the instrument.
Yep, you're marching in, so there's coordination involved with that.
Yeah.
It's up there. I think it's the second hardest instrument to learn as a musician, second to the harp. Not sure why, ours looks way more complicated, but that's okay. I'll just show you up here, we've got the drones. So although it's handy to be able to pull them apart to put them in the cases, there's actually a function here. So this is where you tune the instrument. So you've got your drones. If you want things to be flatter, you're going to wind this drone out a wee bit. And then you're going to wind it in to make it sharper. Okay? And same with the middle tenor. So these are both tenor drones. There's no alto. I think one of the original plans for the bagpipe was to have an alto, but someone Scottish made a mistake and ended up with two tenors, but it worked out pretty well. So they've got 2 tenors and 1 bass drone, which is obviously longer, and each thing can be tuned. Okay, your key note that you're tuning to is A, and so the chanter sets the pitch. So you've got your A, and you're trying to tune your drones. They're all in A as well to that note. So you've actually got 4 A's through the instrument. So you've got low A, you've got high A, which is on the chanter, and then the tenor drone is set an octave below the low A on the chanter, and the bass is set another octave below that. So you can have 3 A's running at the same time, and the drones just give you that constant chord across all your music, which is quite cool. You don't have to have another instrument to provide that backing for you. So what I'll do is I'll tune it up so you can see what the process is there. During the first wee period, the pitch rises really quickly, and then it stabilizes. We won't have enough time to show you that, but just so you know, it's 5 to 10 minutes before you're actually at a pitch that's stable. So I'll tune them to a cold pitch so you can see the process there.
Wow.
And they particularly sound nice in here.
Yes, definitely. And if you had 10 or 15 of them, it's just very overpowering.
Yep, extremely overpowering. It's a very loud instrument. I should be wearing earplugs. Yeah, you got to protect your hearing because it's up there in the decibel reading. So
Wow.
that's the bagpipe. That's what it sounds like cold. There's a few notes you could tweak to get it a bit more in tune, but there's probably a couple other things I can show you. So on the pipe chanter, you can see there's tape right down, little bits of tape. So you're probably picking up now, it's a very finicky instrument and you have to tune every note. So there's 9 notes on here. A lot of them will stay the same from last time, but occasionally they'll move. If there's more moisture, it's drier, you're playing a long time or not playing enough. Some of the notes can change their pitch, so it's all about the distance between the reed and the hole is what the pitch is. So if the distance is shorter, then obviously it's sharper. If the distance is longer, it's a lower note or it's flatter. So we can actually shift the hole by moving the tape down on the top of the hole, which makes it flatter, or bringing it up, which makes it sharper. So once you've got your A set with your drones, you're aiming to get all the other notes in tune with the drones, right enough up and down the scale. So it's a constant battle to try and keep it and get it to the optimum. Yeah, and then you've got to times that by, say, 20 pipers. So 9 notes, 20 pipers, I don't know what that is, but it's a lot of notes to tune. Yep.
I think it's really neat, and it's very emotional. You know, if you're really into it, you can really feel it.
And I'll just show you one more thing inside here, so you can see what we're using as a bag. So this is a sheepskin. Yeah. So it's a sheepskin and it's just tied onto the wood, and that's what provides the tone really. You can get synthetic bags, which are much easier maintenance, but with the sheepskin bag you get the more harmonic range, and it's the original. It's basically what they intended for you to use. I'll put these down.
So what does a bagpipe like this cost?
My one cost about $3,000. But that's just the actual bagpipe. There's all sorts of different bits and pieces that go with them. The chanter reed that that's in the chanter there, they're about $30 a pop. And if you just as much as nick the corner of it, you're getting a new one. And then you times that by 20 pipers and it gets expensive. Then you got your drone reeds, you got your bag cover and your cords. It gets expensive.
So you have to have a whole kit with you when you go with the replacement.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've got call it the box of tone. We've got a big toolkit and we have a lot of spare reeds and things in there.
Along with the pipe band, I'm sure that you have some other range of instruments to go with it. You want to talk a little bit about those too?
Yes. Yep. So we've got the bagpipes, and then the backing for the bagpipes is the side drum or the snare drum, which is I won't pretend to be an expert, but you take your drum kit and you've got your snare drum. It's basically that, but it's a much higher tension drum and it's much deeper, and it's got 2 snare wires on it, and they're really wound up tight so they can reach the pitch of the pipes, the modern day pipes. So it's quite a sharp crackle off that drum, and they're providing backing accompaniment for the bagpipes, basically, providing opening rolls and then providing the dynamics that we can't do on the bagpipes. So the bagpipes
and the cadence for the march.
Yep, and the cadence of the march and something to stick to. They're the rhythm of the pipe band, and the pipes actually, although they're accompanying us, we actually need to play with them, because they will set the rhythm. They'll always win that battle. Because we're not a rhythm instrument, we're a melody instrument on the pipes, and we don't have any dynamic range in terms of volume. We're either on or we're off, and it's one volume. You can't turn it down, you can't turn it up, other than completely changing the reeds and making it easier or something. So the drums can add huge crescendo or decrescendo range of volume, and they can also be staccato, so they can be in, they can be out. So they give the illusion that the pipes are doing certain things, but it's really the drummers that are providing that flair. Listening to a set of pipers on their own belt out some tunes is never as interesting as having a good accompaniment. And then the challenge here is having the side drummers playing music that is benefiting the melody rather than just riding through it. And that's always comes down to personal taste. And then, so moving on from that, that's a very difficult instrument to master as well, but probably not quite as hard to get yourself into the band. You can probably get into the 4B band within 6 months, say, if you practice most days. Whereas the pipes, you're probably looking at least a year. Yep.
Well, the drummers too are also showmen, twirling the sticks and the marching and all the other things with it.
Yeah, so that moves us on to the bass and tenor section. So there's 3 sections. The bass and tenor section is our bass drummer, there's only one bass drummer, and they stand in the middle of the circle and provide the low end. And you have to have that. It feels very weird without the bass. Like on any rock song you listen to, if you've got the ability to turn the bass off, the bass guitar off, everything, it just falls out the bottom of it. So the bass is very important, probably the most important musician in the group, because they really hold the whole thing together and provide that grounding. And they don't do anything particularly fancy, but they can provide the dynamic range, and similar to the snare drummers, but they're really providing the bass line. And then you got your tenor drummers, and they're your showmen, and they do the flourishing. So they can orchestrate it's almost like dance moves with your arms to what's happening with the music. So Joe Public probably have more interest in that side of it, because it's actually quite interesting watching them do their flourishing, and it can get very, very highly skilled. And they have a lot of space in their music, so they don't play anywhere as often as the rest of the instruments. So they can afford to add a bit more of a flourish to what's going on. And their drums can be pitched at different pitches, so they can match the chanter, so they can be pitched at any one of those notes. They've got big ones and right up to little small ones. So you can hit out, every time I hit a B, they can hit the B.
I didn't realize that, and I've seen a lot of bands.
Yep. And they're that is a real fine balance with them. You don't want them to be playing too much. If it just gets too busy with 4 different instruments going at the same time, but you want them to be adding as well. So they're probably more about adding colour as opposed to, my dad has always said, like, the tenor drummers can probably never win you the contest, but they'll certainly lose it if they're playing too much or trying to be too out the gate. So it's all about balance.
Yeah, I was saying that the whole band, it's all so evocative and unique, and I'm not quite sure what draws all the people to it.
I think most people that start probably have it in them, and they don't realise till they see the band at the Santa Parade or at their school or something like that, and it clicks, and it might be family heritage, DNA, somewhere down the track. We find that most people that come along do have some sort of connection that's in their blood, but we've created an environment for that to be exposed, I suppose, by going on recruitment drives to schools, Santa Parades, whatever it is, and then it plucks that out of them that they might have gone through life otherwise and never have got into it. But it's just something you go, I want to, especially as a kid, I want to do that. I don't know why, I just want to do that. Yeah.
And it's not just Scottish, it's also Irish.
Yep, Irish, and there's all sorts of different pipes. I haven't really played any other ones, but there's the Irish pipes, bellows, and things are quite different instrument. But yeah.
Wow. How does the Celtic band balance keeping tradition alive and while staying relevant to modern music?
Yeah, so we have a parade pack, I suppose, a parade set of tunes that really, if you're in that 4B bands and moving up through the grades, you really need to have learnt and mastered all the traditional tunes. So there's plenty of music that people know really well: Scott and the Brave, Amazing Grace, Green Hills, Flower of Scotland, Auld Lang Syne, and we want to be teaching people to play Happy Birthday and things that they can do for weddings, to go out there and do gigs. We're quite heavy on just the military traditions of it as well, making sure we're sticking to those, pulling people to attention at ease, saluting at the right time, being quite formal in that regard. And then it comes down to how you wear your dress, and teaching people how to wear your dress properly, and not being slack happy in that regard. I've always been big on presentation, and that makes a big difference. And then moving forward to how do we keep things modern and fresh. I mean, the kids always like to play fast and quick tunes, and we provide that as well. But when we do our concert actually here at this venue most years, we try and blend those things together, and we'll get a rock band up on the stage, and we'll belt out some new stuff, or we might couple the rock band backing with an old traditional tune like Scott and the Brave with a drum kit and behind it. Like it's pretty cool.
Can you share some insights into the band's tartan design and its cultural or historical significance?
Yep. So we're probably one of the youngest bands in New Zealand. We might still be the youngest band in New Zealand in terms of being a pipe band. 2007 inception. So we had to decide on our own tartan when we did that, and we decided to go for one of the newer tartans that haven't been around that long, just like we hadn't been around that long. And we thought what were the important values to us, and we thought that at that stage we were quite a brave unit, starting this band from scratch and giving it a crack and seeing what we could achieve. So we thought Braveheart's appropriate, and it happened to be that was the pick of the bunch when we looked at 4 or 5 different tartans. So yeah, our tartan's Braveheart, which is predominantly a blue, darker blue, red and white stripe. Yep.
Wow. What kind of community forms around a pipe band like yours? Is it more about the music or the camaraderie?
Oh, it's definitely the camaraderie.
Yeah.
It's the culture. As much as we want to win, we want to be competitive and perform to our best. It's about our culture, and us, the Celtic Pipe Band, we've been well known for that, and you know your culture's good when other people outside of the band talk about it. It's about family, about an inclusive environment, safe environment, somewhere you can go to and hang out with your friends, and music's the byproduct of that. And I guess it works together in that if you want to come and hang out with your friends, you need to be contributing to the music as well. Yeah.
For someone who's listening to our podcast, who is considering joining, what does it take to become part of a band like yours?
Yep. So, like I've sort of said, we cater from the learner right through to the highest level, and it's really just getting in contact, going on our website, on the Googling Celtic Pipe Band will come up straight away, on our Facebook, or contact me directly. Go through the learner form, and in you go. We can start you straight away, pretty much.
So you're the first point of contact?
Either myself or my brother Tori, Gilchrist. Yeah.
Now, what does the future hold for the Celtic Pipe Band? Are there any existing projects, competitions, collaborations, and things like that on the horizon?
Yep. So we've got a lot of goals, a few big, hairy, audacious goals. So in 2019, actually, we took our whole organisation to the World Pipe Band Championships. To take a step back there, we took our Grade 2 band, and they got fourth in the world, which was incredible. One of the highest placings New Zealand bands ever got at the Worlds. There are different grades, and there are Grade 1 bands that have also placed in the top 9. But in terms of placing in A grade, one of the highest ever. And then our 4B band at that point, they got 9th in the world. So it was a very successful trip. We'd like to go back there. So in 2026, we're going to take our Grade 2 band to the World Pipe Band Championships. So you can travel the world doing this. And then in 2027, we're looking at taking a combined group of our musicians, possibly over to France, to the Celtic Festival there, and then possibly take a 4A band to the World Champs directly the week after that. So there's international goals there. Looking back, we've been to Germany, we've been to Scotland, and we've been to Shanghai and China, of all places, to play as a band. And a lot of our musicians have been to Canada, and all sorts, Australia, other places in the world. Our goals on a domestic front here, we want to keep being competitive. We're taking our 3 bands, and we've got our juvenile group as well, which we combined in with a South Canterbury pipe band, which we've got a connection with. And we put out all of our players that are under 18 in another event, and they go and play as well. So there's actually 4 bands. It's quite intense, and we're really working hard at the moment, just collaborating a wee bit with our other pipe bands in the region. So we're working in with the Marlborough Pipe Band over there, helping them a wee bit with some tuition, and any of their players that want to come play with us, it's reciprocal for competitions. Same with the City of Nelson Highland Pipe Band, who's just celebrated their 100-year anniversary. I used to be a member of that band, and we've got a couple of players from them playing in with us, because we've got different grades, so you can play up and down. So we're trying to collaborate with them, and just create a good community around piping and drumming. And we just want to keep growing it. We're sitting around 75 members, and those members are local based, but also around the country now as well. So we want to keep growing it. I'd love to get over 100 playing members and learners. I think that would be a point where it self-fulfills, and when you get a learner, sometimes you get their sister and brother learning as well. We get their family, their dad or their mum, and you can't help but grow at that point. So yeah, there's a lot to work towards.
How can our listeners support the Celtic Pipe Band and keep this incredible tradition thriving in Nelson?
Yeah, well, look, we're always open to donations. We're always open to potential sponsorship deals to help us. we are one of the newest, but we're probably one of the poorest pipe bands in New Zealand. We really don't have any money. A lot of it's self-funded in terms of travel, instruments. So we have to provide uniforms to all our players. They're expensive. So it's just get in contact. Same thing with myself through our website, through our Facebook page. If you can help at all, if you've got any ideas for fundraising, or you run a company that wants to become a naming sponsor or something like that, then otherwise come and support our gigs here at the NCMA. We do the concert most years, our Kaylee we do, which is a lot of fun, and support us that way.
Well, before we wrap it up, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners about the Celtic pipe music, your band, or your personal journey as a musician?
Just that it's something to keep your eyes peeled for. It is an underground activity, but there's not many other activities that you can do where you could do it from the age of 7 right up to physically when your fingers can't move, when you're 85, 90. It's not something you have to give up. You can do it your whole life. You can be part of a community. It's a special community. Travel the country, travel the world, and create friends and family for life. So if you're old or young and you want to get involved, it's a pretty special thing to be involved with. And if you ask any of our members, it's really being part of that culture that keeps them going. So thank you, Todd, for getting us on.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing with us.